Now there are thousands of them. Pilots, radar men, ground crews, some on active duty, many serving only on weekends. They work from bases like this all over the country. The missions, gunnery practice, flight drills, or submarine patrols, and the constant mission of the Naval Air Reserve to keep skills in readiness. But how many young men can imagine the beginning, the old aircraft and the men who flew them, and the reasons for wanting to fly?
"50 years ago, the plane I learned to fly in was a Curtiss F-boat. She couldn't do better than about 60. But to me in 1916, that was excitement enough. Anyone had told me or my classmates that aircraft would fly faster than the speed of sound, we would have locked them up. I don't think that any of us in that first Yale unit thought much about the fact that we were starting the Naval Air Reserve. The important thing to us was flying and the friendships that we had for each other. I think I can still remember the roll call. Ames, Beach, Brown, Rush, Coombe, Davison, Dittman, Farwell, Gates, Gould, Ingalls, Ireland, James, Landon, Lawrence, Lovett, Lynch, McLeish, McElwain, Seaweed, B. Reed, Rockefeller, Smith, Stewart, Sturtevant, Thompson, Voorhees, Walker. Yes, we all wanted to fly, and that we did. The idea for the unit began in France in 1915. America, of course, wasn't in the war yet, So I volunteered for the American ambulance. It was the only way I could serve. But there was another kind of service that had caught my eye. The Lafayette Escadrille was being formed at that time, and later they played an important part in the war. I was impressed by the potential and excitement of air power. I decided I would speak with Bob Lovett, one of my classmates at Yale, and try to form a flying group of our own. We pulled together a group of about 12, and that next summer learned to fly at Port Washington on Long Island Sound. The Navy had been keen about the idea, but had no planes to spare. So I spoke with my family, and Father and Mother decided to back the unit. They bought 2 Curtiss F-boats for us to train in, and we enrolled as members of the Aerial and Coast Patrol, a kind of unofficial reserve unit. The next summer, we went to West Palm Beach, and the unit more than doubled at that time. The Navy gave us a CO, mechanics, and even some machine guns to practice with. Our training was no longer just learning to fly. By that summer, the country went to war, and so did we. The class under us at Yale followed our example and formed a second unit. And when war was declared, the Navy took us in. Some men stayed in the States and set up training bases. Others flew from England and France, patrolled the Channel and the North Sea. Others bombed submarine pens in Bruges and Ostend. Some eventually flew fighters on the Western Front. But I didn't go with any of them. On Long Island Sound, at the end of our training, while landing on my final test flight, I had an accident which broke my back, and I never received my Navy wings.
Gramps!
Hi, George. Where have you been?
The people are arriving. Can I help you outside?
Sure, give her a push now. Turn around.
On July 1st, 1966, a reunion at the home of Trubee Davison for members of the 1st and 2nd Yale units and their families. They came from all over the country, and some had not seen each other for years. They came to be honored by the Navy. They came to remember the old friendships and the old times, and to honor the man who had first inspired them.
Hi. How are you?
Hi, Trubee. How are you?
Glad to see you. That's here, my God.
Came a long time, a long way to see you.
Trubee, old time. Well, young fella, I was so afraid that I didn't hear until the last night you were. Well, I didn't know until day before yesterday. Don't you know what? Sure, how are you? Wonderful. At the college.
Jay Sheffield.
Hello, Jay.
Trubee, I'm glad to see you. I'm
Shorty Otis, Trubee.
Hello, Shorty.
Long time.
Well, I should have known you.
No, we're doggone near outnumbered.
Dick Davison, Admiral Ramsey, sir.
Wonderful to see you.
Well, Wade.
How are you today? How are you? Just a second. Hey, Lieutenant Ward.
Yeah, on this photo here, one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, Mr. Davison called off the muster of 50 years ago to me without missing a name or hesitating.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. He actually called off the muster of 50 years ago. With no hesitation and in alphabetical order.
That's very good.
This was the
That's the old left boat.
Right, well, this was the first one they used. They called it the Marianne. It had a mahogany top, a white waterline, and a green bottom. And this was taken right down here at Peacock Point. This was before they went into the Naval Reserve. That was taken in 1960.
Look at the bathing suits they have on. That's pretty dated.
I noticed
pretty
that,
much.
yeah.
So.
But on
That
this
dates
photo
it just
here,
as much as the plane does.
on this one, sir, we even have Ella in this.
Well, those are the original members.
And can you tell us any of the stories of the Red Bug?
Yes, there's John Voorhees, Guy Gates, Albert Dittman, Alan Ames, Trubee Davison, Bob Lovett, and myself. And here's Lord Brown and Harry Davison. Those are original members.
And even Ella the dog.
Oh, that's Ella.
The Navy had no
During the first year we were
no training.
These are the original members. We got our flag the year before, you see. We lived here, right in this
Fly a
house.
plane or two and hire an instructor, they told us.
Yeah.
We'd be very glad to and pass our tests. They'd be very glad to have us as ensigns.
Well, and this was the second unit.
This is the second.
The second unit.
Yeah. We tried to get in the Air Force first, and they said, no, you're too young. Try the Navy.
How did the first unit's experience influence you?
Very much. They were a grand bunch of fellows. And, especially after the Air Force wouldn't take us. We said, well, let's get in the Navy the way Trubee's crowd did. Yeah. I know, Snooty Levitt. He'd say, well, you dirty bird. Flying just above the water, I saw the surf as we flew over it. And I turned up the coast on a guess, and there were the lightships at the entrance to our river, within a mile, and I'd been out nearly 10 hours.
And how was your gas?
About 15 minutes.
And they got the bombs all made, and they called me up one day and said, we've got the bombs ready now, you can come and get them. So I went and got them, and with instructions that were with it, that came with the bombs was that what you've got to do, we have poured TNT in these bombs. It was liquid when they poured it in, you know, and then it solidifies. Mm-hmm. They had filled them full of TNT, but they said to make them go off and go off quickly, you've got to have something hotter than TNT, and that's black powder. And I said, all right, if that's it, that's it. How do you do it? They said, take a bracing bit and drill a hole down through the middle of the bomb, through the middle of the TNT, fill it full of black powder, then put your top on and your cap on, and it'll be all right. Well, I just pictured myself, you see, standing up beside these bombs, drilling a hole in TNT. It sounded like pretty hot stuff to me in those days. Couldn't play with it very much. And they said, the only thing, don't make any contact with metal. If you get a spark in there, why, that's too bad.
When the stick caught, when he looped, fell over the stick, the strap from the front seat, and it held it so that he came down like this, and a series of things, and he was all upset because he'd just gotten engaged about a day or two before, and he thought it was the end of his engagement and everything else when he came down, and he finally landed, and it was such a good old airplane that although he couldn't control it, it landed and nothing broke. And he started to laugh, and we got over there rather rapidly, and he was laughing like the dickens about it all, and we took him back to the barracks with us, and he couldn't stop laughing. Actually, we had to take him over to the infirmary and fill him with dope. He was really upset about this girl of his, of course, which is a perfectly normal thing.
Did
But he
anything
never
happen to the plane?
No, it was perfectly all right. It was most extraordinary, and nothing ever happened to Shorty except he never could fly again. Every time he got in an airplane, he would get sick, and violently so. And nobody liked, of course, to be aroused when he did that, so that he had to give up and was given another job running the statistical end.
It was a great crowd of people. We all thought the others were fine. I don't know what they thought of us, of course.
The Navy took us in as a group of younger brothers. We weren't soldiers, or sailors, or airmen. We were a group right straight out of college. So we had plenty of things to fight for, because at that time, you could feel patriotism without being sneered at. And you could have the satisfaction of a loyalty, of service, and of doing something that you believed in with a group of people that you loved and respected. That's what kept us going. There's no question about it. It was a period of our youth that is reflected here today, I think, when you see the Navy showing a sense of tradition and appreciation and warmth that is very gratifying to all of us, no question. And I think it exposes some of the reasons that we felt such warmth for them.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Captain John E. McQuarrie, Commanding Officer of the Naval Air Station at New York. I'd like to welcome you, and we're delighted that you could attend the 50th anniversary reunion. I have the pleasure at this time to introduce Rear Admiral Richard L. Fowler, Chief of Naval Air Reserve Training. Admiral Fowler.
Thank you, Captain McCrary. 1966 marks the 50th anniversary of the Naval Air Reserve. I think it's more than fitting that today we should celebrate this anniversary in the presence of the men of the 1st and 2nd Yale units who formulated the Naval Air Reserve. I know that many of you continued to serve your country after World War I. Mr. Davison, Assistant Secretary of War for Air in the 1920s. Mr. Ingalls, Assistant Secretary of Navy and Rear Admiral. Mr. Shefflin, who reaffiliated in '39, and he and Mr. Earl Gould served as admirals during World War II. Mr. Lovett, who became Secretary of Defense, and Mr. Gates, who was Undersecretary of Navy for Air and Assistant Secretary of Navy. All of you, in fact, have contributed so much of your effort and time to the welfare of your country. At this time, it is normally unfashionable to dwell on service to country. But I would particularly like to thank you all so very much for your work, for your spirit, and for the tradition you established. Thank you. Now I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Vice Admiral Paul Ramsey, Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for Air. Admiral Ramsey.
Thank you, Admiral Fowler. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. 50 years ago, Rear Admiral W.S. Sims, who was the wartime commander of the 1st and 2nd Yale units, thanked the units not only for their, quote, great material service, but for their enthusiasm and earnestness. He added, to select any of the living members of the unit for mention is a difficult task, and perhaps an unfair one. He could not help, however, but make a few notable exceptions, one of which was then Lieutenant Trubee Davison, organizer of the 1st Yale unit, of whom he said, his courage matched his unusual qualities of initiative and capacity for command, and he handsomely deserved the honors for which he was recommended. I agree with Admiral Sims, but unfortunately Mr. Davison was not able to receive one rather special honor. 50 years ago, not far from here on Long Island Sound, while flying with his unit, Trubee Davison crashed, and as a result of the injuries he sustained, could not fly again. and consequently was not designated a naval aviator and did not receive his Navy wings. I think I can appreciate what that loss meant to him. Today, Trubee, on behalf of the United States Navy, I hope I can in some way make up for that loss and thank you for what you have done for your country by presenting you with a proclamation and your Navy wings. They're real honor.
Oh, that was wonderful.
And they're brand new and shiny, too.
Good. I'll keep that way.
Right. Highest congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Real honor to see you.
These are the boys that did their job, not me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Blue Angels are scheduled to make a flyby in salute to the 1st and 2nd Yale units. Thank you very much.
Hi, George.
Hi, Grant.
Did you have fun?
Yep.
What'd you learn?
Something.
You know all about the Blue Angels and all that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much, do you?
I've learned that before.
Well, that's good. That's fine. Now we've had a long, hard day. And would you mind pushing me up back to the house and then I can rest up? Which I need now.
Okay.
Go ahead.